Good morning, everybody. I hope that you're well and have had a really great week. I've had quite an interesting week myself. I've been teaching my lessons. I've been trying to decipher the government's guidance around bringing back some students before the end of term. And I've been conducting quite a lot of interviews. We're rearranging the leadership team at Prior Park, and I've been interviewing colleagues for a range of assistant head positions. Now, I'm lucky to work with a lot of talented and able people, and the answers they've been given to the questions they've got are fantastic. Everyone's been asked one question, and that's to explain their vision for Prior Park over the next 5 years. The various answers have been a really good way of getting to understand how well people get the college. I got one left field answer though, which forms the basis of this assembly. One of the candidates said that they felt that Prior was not entirely clear about what its place was. They used a Harry Potter analogy, and they said that they felt that of all the schools in Bath, Prior Park might be a little bit like Hufflepuff. I smiled when I heard this, and then it got me thinking more about Harry Potter. One of the great things about writing assemblies is that you get to explore some interesting and strange parts of the internet. However, looking into the Harry Potter fandom world is a whole other level. There are loads of websites and fan fiction pages where people really get their geek on. There are, though, some fairly sensible pages on the houses at Harry Potter School and what their various traits are. Now, if you haven't read any Harry Potter or seen any of the films, then firstly, where have you been for the last 20 years? Secondly, get on with it. They're really good fun. Thirdly, I'll try not to be too geeky in this assembly, and I'll try and explain what I'm talking about. And fourthly, I may well drop some spoilers, but I'll try and avoid it wherever possible. Harry Potter is a fictional wizard who goes to a boarding school called Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Now, at the school, there are 4 different houses for the students. Upon their first arrival, each student has to put on a magical sorting hat, which sings a song and then gets popped onto each student's head in turn, looks into their souls and decides which house they should be put in. This, I think, is essentially a headmaster's dream. No worries or complaints about which house someone has been put into. You just let a hat decide. What could possibly go wrong? Well, quite a lot, actually. The problem is that in the world of Harry Potter, each house has distinct traits. You can essentially recognise a young witch or wizard's house by the sort of person they are. The most important house in the books is Gryffindor. This is Harry's house. Harry is the hero, and so the trait most associated with students in Gryffindor is heroism. One of the hat's songs says, "You might belong in Gryffindor, where dwell the brave at heart. Their daring, nerve and chivalry set Gryffindors apart." Everyone wants to be in Gryffindor, right? Who wouldn't? Daring, nerve, chivalry, all undoubted good things. However, you could say that actually nerve and daring aren't all that great. They could lead to you being reckless, running in where angels fear to tread, chasing a troll into the girls' loos perhaps. There are countless examples of wizards from Gryffindor being silly, being irresponsible and often being mean. Harry's father, for example, is a bit of a bully to other students, and he was in Gryffindor. The headmaster, Albus Dumbledore, often held up as the best teacher in all fiction, was a Gryffindor. However, he gets some things massively wrong. He plays favourites. In the first book, when Slytherin are about to win the House Cup, he decides to add a lot of points to Gryffindor's total and instead, fairly arbitrarily I think, makes Gryffindor win. I wonder if he would have done that if it was not his old house who were about to snatch the trophy. He plays favourites with Harry as well. He lets him enter the Tri-Wizard tournament in the 4th book, even though he is too young to do so. I genuinely think that were Dumbledore an actual head teacher, he'd have been sacked a long time ago. So Gryffindor might not be all it's cracked up to be. The sorting house says of Ravenclaw house, "Or yet in wise old Ravenclaw, if you've a ready mind, where those of wit and learning will always find their kind." This is the house where most of the cleverest kids go. To physically get into the house, they've got to answer a riddle posed for them by the door knocker. The traits that are listed as being those of a typical Ravenclaw student are intellect, wit and wisdom. Great stuff, all very right and proper to admire. However, there are some pretty ropey characters in the series who were members of Ravenclaw. In the 2nd book, the teacher, Gilderoy Lockhart, who'd been in Ravenclaw, was intelligent, certainly, but he was also a fraud, a cad and a bounder. Not a great advert for your house. They're also so competitive when it comes to academic success that they are known to tread on others to succeed. They're really proud of their intelligence and they aren't fussed about much else. You don't, in the books, hear much about the Ravenclaw Quidditch team, do you? Like Gryffindor, there is a lot to admire in the house, but there are a few things that might make you question whether it was the right house for you. Unquestionably, the worst house in the books is Slytherin. Even the name sounds ominous and worrying. The traits of this house are resourcefulness, cunning, ambition and determination. Not always that bad. The cunning isn't really something to be all that proud of, is it? Whilst Ravenclaw and Gryffindor have the odd baddie in them, they are mostly full of decent people. Most of the characters that we meet in Slytherin, though, are just evil. As Hagrid says, there's not a single witch or wizard who went bad who wasn't in Slytherin. An odd thing for a school, isn't it? Firstly, to have children in your school who are evil, and secondly, to have one house that you put all of those evil children in. The most famous Slytherin in the world of Harry Potter is, undoubtedly, Lord Voldemort, Harry's antagonist, the man who killed Harry's parents, and a character with no redeeming features. Lots of his cronies who join him in implementing his various reigns of terror are also from Slytherin. The Slytherins who Harry must deal with when he's at school are bullies, thugs, liars and cheats. However, the house is successful. When Harry arrives at Hogwarts, we learn that Slytherin have won the House Cup for the previous 7 years. They get things done, and they are often wealthy and do well in life. They are evil, though. Don't forget evil. That leaves one house. The house that my interviewee said that they thought Prior Park was most like. Hufflepuff. A reminder that the interviewee didn't mean this in a good way. Hufflepuff has become, for some, a byword for being a bit meh. In the first book, Hagrid says of Hufflepuff, everyone says Hufflepuff are a lot of duffers. In J.K. Rowling's brilliantly drawn but fairly simplistic world, we have a brave house, a clever house, an evil house, and another house. Hufflepuff is where everyone else ends up and so becomes known as the Duffer's house because, it isn't evil, clever or brave. Doesn't really seem fair, does it? The thing is, I think that Hufflepuff is actually the best house. On the Harry Potter fandom website, it says that Hufflepuff is the most inclusive among the 4 houses, valuing hard work, dedication, patience, loyalty and fair play, rather than a particular aptitude in its members. Isn't that a really good set of values? A house that is inclusive, that values everybody, irrespective of background or ability. A house that will value people who work hard and who are patient and kind with each other, and to students from other houses. There are members of all the other houses who are, not to put too fine a point on it, bad, who are dark wizards. Not Hufflepuff, though. It hasn't, according to all the fan websites I looked at, produced any evil wizards. In the 4th book, the best student in the school is a Hufflepuff, Cedric Diggory. The hero of the Fantastic Beasts spin-off series of films is a Hufflepuff, Newt Scamander. Hufflepuffs don't brag, they don't boast, they don't bully, they're just decent, unassuming, hard-working and kind. After the interview, I thought long and hard about which house I'd like Prior Park to be and which house I think it actually is. The answer to both questions is the same. It's Hufflepuff. In today's world, we've enough schools that prize academic achievement above everything else, like Ravenclaw. Are students in those sorts of schools happy? Not always. They often put themselves under a lot of pressure and lose sight of the bigger picture. There are some schools where who your family are matters a lot, just like Slytherin House. Are students at those sorts of schools happy? Typically not. They're often concerned with looking good rather than feeling good or being good. There are a lot of schools which might think they are Gryffindor. Well, I think it's quite easy to say you're Gryffindor and a lot harder to be Gryffindor. Instead, you're more likely to fall into being excessively ambitious and a bit Slytherin-y. I like schools that are inclusive, like Hufflepuff. I like schools that are genuine, like Hufflepuff. I like schools that are kind, like Hufflepuff. I found a lovely reflection on the power of kindness by a priest called Lawrence Lovasic that I shall read now. Not only is kindness due to everyone, but a special kindness is due to everyone. Kindness is not kindness unless it is special. Its charm consists in its fitness, its timeliness and its individual application. Kindness adds sweetness to everything, It makes life's capabilities blossom and fills them with fragrance. Kindness is like divine grace. It bestows on men something that neither self nor nature can give them. What it gives them is something of which they are in need, or something which only another person can give, such as consolation. Besides, the manner in which this is given is a true gift itself, better by far than the thing given. The secret impulse out of which kindness acts is an instinct that is the noblest part of yourself. It is the most undoubted remnant of the image of God given to us at the beginning. I'm really proud to be the head of a school that is kind. We could all do with being a little bit more kind nowadays. So I ask you all, be more kind. Be more Hufflepuff. Have a great weekend.